Hi, my brethren, and today, or tomorrow, or yesterday, I forgot. I think it was like yesterday, yeah. Yesterday, we reached 10 subs, and this is the 10 sub special, you know? I'm stirring over my words because I'm thankful. I'm very thankful for all of you. So, to all of you that subscribe, which I know there's 159 of you that watch my videos. So the 10 of you who actually bothered to subscribe, I'm so thankful. Thank you so much. So we're gonna be doing with this broski right here, Innocent Izuku. Sorry, that was Naruto. So what if Innocent Izuku was betrayed and framed? You know, you're gonna be cheated on and framed. Give me a second. So my man's is gonna be. It's gonna be him and Uraraka's 3-month anniversary. Or 1-month anniversary, actually, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure the USJ was 1 month after they joined UA. So it's gonna be Uraraka and Deku's 1-month anniversary, right? And basically, Deku, you know how he is in the original show, fam. He's like an emotional bowl of insecurity and that, right? Not in this one. So, but at the beginning, he is still. So, Canon Deku goes up to what do you call it? Uraraka, right? He's going up to Uraraka's room, and then Kirishima, who's his boy in this one. Kirishima's his boy, right? And not Bakugo's, because I hate Bakugo. I hate the terrorist, but Kirishima doesn't, which makes me dislike Kirishima a bit. But Kirishima has all my love, so that little bit of dislike doesn't add up to nothing. So Kirishima's like, bro, I don't think you should go up there. And Deku's like, yo, what are you talking about, bro? He's like, it's not my place to say, but I don't think you should go up there, bro. And basically Deku being naive, he's like, nah, I just need to give her this present. And Kirishima in his head is like, rah, you are some dickhead, fam. Like you don't hear me warning you, like shit. But you know, Deku being Deku, he just goes there anyway, because he doesn't suspect shit. He trusts these hoes. So Mans goes up, right? And while he's walking up, you know what he's hearing. All he's hearing is, so you know, it's kind of like, but he's not hearing it in that pace. The pace is, and basically, there's a girl moaning, but he can't hear Uraraka's he doesn't think it's Uraraka's voice, right? Because they just say she a freak in the sheets, and basically she doesn't use her innocent voice when she's in the sheets, right? So he gets up there, and he got her like some flowers. Oh fuck. Sorry, I was interrupted by mom. But sorry about the audio. The audio must be shit right now. I'm sorry about that. But so Deku goes up to Uraraka's room, right? And like I said, he's bought her some next up giant teddy bear and mad flowers. And he bought her this necklace, right? So he go he goes up to her room. And if you're on my channel, right, and you don't agree with me, you can get the fuck out. Because personally, I think bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. But you know, that's interchangeable. So he goes out there, right, and he sees he sees Bakugo clapping cheeks with Uraraka, right, and Bakugo got a tic tac dick, you know, and But anyway, so Deku like drops the bear and the flowers and he drops the necklace and stuff, and it kind of makes a little bit of noise, but they don't play up to nothing because Raka is screaming her lungs off, you know. And he goes back downstairs, and Kirishima's like, "Bro, I told you not to go up there. Why would you do that? Like, why would you not follow the instructions laid out for your success?" Okay, and basically Deku's like, "Why didn't you tell me that was going on?" And Kirishima's like, "It wasn't my place, bro. Like, I could warn you." I could warn you all I want, but it's not my place to fucking get in the way of you and her. And Deku's like, yeah, true. But anyway, he's like, bro, I just need some downtime. So give me a while, I'll be back. He's like, I just need a week off school in it, and I'll be back like next week. So let's say, yeah, a week goes by, and he comes back to school, right? And all the man in the class are looking at him bare weird, innit? Except for, Kirishima, Momo, Momo, um, Todoroki, and Froppy, innit? So everybody else is looking at him weird, except Kirishima, Froppy, Momo, and Todoroki. So everybody's seen this tape, right? That circulated about him stealing the UA files, right? But these men don't think to suggest that it may be Toga, right? Or like a person with a transformation quirk, because it's like you live in an era of superheroes, and it just so happens that the most pure-hearted kid in your class stole the files and was a villain. It's like, how do they not piece the pieces together, But it is what it is. So All Might comes in and he stares at Izuku for like 2 seconds, and then looks back at Aizawa and the class, and he's like, "We're going to the USJ today." So when they arrive, same thing happens with the villains. But in this one, when Deku Froppy, sorry about that noise. If you've been hearing that noise, I'm sorry. But anyway, in this one, when Froppy, Mineta, and Deku get sent to like the water thing, right? And the villains are crowding around. Basically, Mineta, he thinks that Izuku's the villain, right? And Froppy doesn't. So Froppy's still gonna save him and things. So Izuku still throws the punch, trying to save them, right? But Mineta, he puts like a ball on a villain. He throws one of his sticky balls at the villain, and then pushes Deku so that Deku is stuck to the villain, right? And so Sue couldn't get Deku without getting a villain. Deku's like, it's cool, just go. Because he doesn't know what's happening, but he's like, it's cool, just go. And then when Sue gets to the boat, so when Froppy, or Sue, gets to the boat, like, she asks Manel, why'd you do that? And Manel's like, he's a villain. He deserves to be with his friends. And Sue just slaps Manel, right? And then she like jumps off the boat with her frog legs. But anyway, so Izuku, still being the innocent kid, doesn't see what Manel did as a betrayal. He sees like Manel didn't. It was probably an accident or something, right? And so he knocks out the villain with like a punch to the jaw, powered with 5% of One for All, which I'm gonna say he gets full cowling like way sooner, right? So he hits a 5%, but no, actually he doesn't have full cow, but it's just his instinct to activate 5% so he doesn't break his bones, right? Let's say this time his instinct just tell him like put as little power as you can, and so he does 5% and just smashes the villain's jaw. And after that, he cuts off the bit of the he cuts off the fabric that was stuck to the ball and just like swims to shore. And then he sees that Shigaraki's the one telling all the orders, so he thinks take out the head and the snake will die, you know. So he goes to the head and he tries to punch Shigaraki, but then Nomu, you know, Nomu catches him. Shigaraki's like, you will all be still and wait for All Might if you don't want this kid to die. And everybody's still moving, right? They're like, kill him, except for the four that I mentioned before. And All Might thinks that All for One has gone to Izuku, right? Because there's no other way that All Might would dislike Izuku. Because if All Might saw even a glimmer of thing, a glimmer of hope in Izuku, he would like take it, right? But let's say that Toga did the thing. She did the deed by stealing the things. Toga is introduced much sooner to the villains than this one, and she stole the documents. And she had All for One's symbol on her jacket. So, All Might seeing this in the tape, he's like, "Yup, All for One, go kill him." So, not kill him, but he's like, "Yup, can't be my successor anymore." So when All Might arrives, he sees Deku just get knocked like straight out of the what do you call it again? The what is it called, fam? The dome, wherever the dome was. So he sees Izuku get knocked straight out of the dome, and he's like, okay, so that's where the traitor is. Then he goes to the normal. He beats the normal like in the original, right? And then he goes up to Izuku walking like real slow for dramatic effect. And Izuku's like created like this, but he's barely conscious. Like his eyes are fading and shit. He's like snapping in and out of consciousness, right? And All Might basically takes his quirk back, and he's like, it was a mistake to let a quirkless um, be the successor of One for All. And this is when Izuku snaps, right? And he's like, shut the fuck up, you're quirkless too, bro. And then Izuku just passed out, right? And so, since Izuku has technically died, um, they do not honor him. They don't honor his death whatsoever. They say that he was a traitor, a villain that deserved to die because he betrayed the UA, right? And so this whole time, Inko's been getting like mail of death threats and stuff, and saying that her son was a traitor. And so she goes into a deep depression, right? But she's not gonna do anything. She's not gonna kill herself or anything, right? But right now she believes that her son was a traitor, and she doesn't understand why, because Izuku always wanted to be a hero, and that's gonna play a big part later. So Izuku is in his mindscape right now, drifting in a void of darkness, right? And then out of nowhere, a light shines, like just a big spotlight just shines around him, and then the whole void just turns white. Then he sees this man in a red jacket. Give me a second. So he sees this man in the white void, right? And basically, if you don't know who this is Bon from the Seven Deadly Sins, and he's an immortal who has bad powers. And that's what Deku's new power is gonna be. He's gonna be immortal and have um, uh, Fox Hunt and Hunter's Fest. He's gonna have all the powers that Bon has by the end of the Seven Deadly Sins. So Bon comes out to Izuku and he's like, "Whoa, my friend, you have lived a very sad life." And Izuku's like, "Who are you?" And Bon's like, "Well, you are my reincarnation." And Izuku's like, "What? Like, if I'm your reincarnation, then why didn't you show up?" So he's like, "And since you're my reincarnation, you, my friend, are technically immortal." And Izuku's like, "Immortal? But I'm quirkless." And Bon's like, "Oh yes, those pesky pesky powers that the humans have developed. And Izuku's like, but aren't you human? And Bond's like, no, I'm far from it. I am actually an inhuman, which that's what I'm gonna call him since he's an immortal fam. He's not human anymore. So he's like, I used to be, but now I'm an inhuman. And because I'm immortal, I couldn't die, only be reincarnated. And Izuku's like, so I'm your reincarnation? And Bond's like, yes, my first actually. So this is very emotional for me. And Bond is like, well, you had a very hard life. Not as hard as mine, obviously not. But you know, it was painful to watch all of that, you know? Especially because I could feel all your emotions amplified. But and he's like, and then Bond, sorry I'm interrupted so many times, it's just my little sister. But anyway, so Bond is like, but anyway, you got betrayed. You have no power, and you can't be a hero. And Izuku's like, yeah, why are you telling me this? I already know that, fam. That's just plain evil. And Bond's like, no, no, no. I'm saying that's the situation you're in right now. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's evil, just spitting out my face, fam. And Bond's like, no, fam. I'm gonna give you power and training. Like, I'm asking you if you want to change that situation. But anyway, like I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, he's like, do you want to change that situation? Which Izuku's like, how could I change that situation? I'm dead. And Bond's like, well, yes, you are dead. But what did I say before? And Izuku's like, I don't know. What did you say? Because right now Izuku's like in a really weird place, you know? Because he's like, so my girlfriend cheated on me. Come to find out, they think I betrayed them. Um, my mentor fully left me to die. So what do I have to live for right now? And Bond's like, you're immortal, my guy. Like this is gonna happen to you many, many times because people will always be jealous of you because you won't age and you won't die. And basically, Izuku's like, yeah, bro, but like, still, fam, like, if I'm the only one immortal, what's the point of living? And Bond's like, I don't fucking know. Figure it out, like by yourself. And Bond's like, well, I'm gonna train you for, let's say, it's gonna be. He said, I'm gonna train you for what's gonna be 100 years in here. Actually, no, 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 no. Fuck that 100 years shit. He says, I'm gonna train you for a year in here, but it's gonna be 10 days outside. And Izuku's like, okay, cool, whatever, right? And so the man, them start training. No, 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 no. Fuck that. Scratch it, scratch it. He says, I will be training you for 2 years, and it will be 2 weeks outside. Yes, that's it. Because the sports festival starts in 2 weeks. So he says, I'll be training you for 2 years, and it'll be 2 weeks outside. And Izuku's like, so I get another shot at life. And Bond's like, yes, you do. And I would advise you to because your mom isn't doing so well. And Izuku's like, what about my mom? And he's like, you'll see in 2 years. And so they start training, right? And Izuku's not immortal yet, but in his mindscape, he is. So he's training. And he gets Fox Hunt and Hunter's Fest and every single thing that Bond has. And then by the end of the 2 years, Bond says, well, I have overstayed my welcome in your mind, so now our souls will fuse together, and you'll have the consciousness of your body until I next reincarnate, and then I'll have to do this all over again. And Izuku's like, well, that is a bit of a sad existence because Izuku by this point he's been enlightened, and he found out that enlightenment wasn't real. He's been enlightened again, and that just happened multiple times, and now he's just like a chill guy that just wants to enjoy his technically afterlife forever. You know, he just wants to enjoy life. He doesn't really the only person he cares about at the moment would be Inko. So He just wants to see his mom, you know. And so Bon starts fading, and he's like, "Well, my friend, we will see each other when we next reincarnate." Because I'm gonna say it's a reincarnation cycle, like the Avatar, right? And Bon's the oldest incarnation. He's like the original Avatar, except they won't be like it's hard to reach them. It's just you go into your mindscape and you have all of them, right? But anyway, so back to Izuku. Izuku wakes up and he has a brand new body, right? Well, not brand new, but it's like Bon's body on him. And so he wakes up, he realizes I'm in a coffin. What the fuck? And he basically just starts like he just punches the coffin, like the top of the coffin. He punches it once because I'm gonna say he has the same amount of strength as Bon. And if you don't know, Bon the Inhuman, the brother got a mad amount. He has big strength. Like he's big body. So Izuki just punches the top of the coffin, and all of the dirt goes flying along with the coffin. It looks like somebody just took a strip and pulled it up, right? And then Izuku like jumps up from the coffin and he grabs the thing, and he goes to the tombstone and he picks it up and just throws it. Like he just rips it out the ground and throws it. So the tombstone's destroyed and he goes to the police station. And when he gets to the police station, his clothes are all torn up because I'm gonna say I don't know, fam. I'm gonna say there was water leaking in the thing, and just a bunch of shit happened. I don't know, fam. Fucking hell. So his clothes are torn up, and he looks homeless. And he goes into the police station. They're like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Well, I believe I have been wrongfully registered dead." Which by this point, Nezu figured out he's not the UA traitor, but the police still registered him as dead because he was dead. So he's like, I believe I've been wrongfully registered dead. And the police are like, what do you mean? And he's like, I am Izuku Midoriya, which Izuku has been trending all over the news for the longest, right? Because they're like, UA made a mistake, and that mistake got their student killed. So UA is a bit unpopular right now, right? But it's still popular. But they're like, UA overlooked the popular information about young Midoriya, and that caused him to die and be unjustly ruled as a traitor, blah blah blah. And Inko's getting compensation from UA like a madness, but she's not taking it because she just wants her baby boy back, and she thinks that's never gonna happen. So the police are like, no, you can't be. And he's like, but I am. And they're like, but you died. And he's like, my quirk awakened, and that's why I'm alive. And they're like, so what is your quirk? And he's like, I'm immortal. He says it plain out because he doesn't care, because in this world, basically, just and they're like, what? He's like, I am immortal. And they're like, okay, but they're like, um, we don't believe you, but you do look like Izuku Midoriya, but we have to take some DNA tests first to make sure that you are him and you're not just another imposter. And he's like, so you finally cleared my name. Wow. It only took me dying. And they're like, and the police officer's like, whoa, 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 bro. Like, I get it. You got betrayed, but like, that shit wasn't me, my nigga. And Yuzuki's like, fair point, fair point, fair point. And then basically he gets tested DNA. They don't call All Might or the UA because he asked the police not to, and the police understand because he hates that place, and he rightfully should, right? And basically, he gets registered as as a living citizen as well. And they're like, "You didn't try to fake your death or anything, right?" And he's like, "No, no, I legitimately died, and then my quirk awakened." And they're like, "Oh, so that was the requirement of your quirk awakening?" And he's like, "You could say that." And he gets like registered as a living human being, and he's like, they're like, well, um, since uh you're back, the least we could do, they're like, because they're like, your death wasn't honored in any way, so the least we could do is drive you home. And he's like, yeah, sure, fam, thanks. And this officer is gonna play a big role because I want him to. So basically, the officer drives him home, and when he gets home, and the officer's like, you should be ready for your mom to faint, fam, because she got death threats at first, and then when your name was cleared, she's getting like she's getting like compensation and stuff, and she's not taking it, and she's really in a bad place right now. So you should be ready, fam. And basically, Izuku shows up at the doorstep and he knocks on the door, and Inko's like, "Go away." And she says that in the loneliest voice Izuku's ever heard his mother be. And the officer says if Izuku wants to call her, and Izuku's like, "No, I want it to be a surprise, so you call her." The officer calls her outside, right? And Inko's like, "Is this more compensation from that wretched school?" And basically, Izuku's like, "No, mother, I am back." And basically, Inko's like, "Who is this clown?" And she looks at him and just freezes, and then she like faints with a tear coming down her eye, right? So they go inside, and the officer is like, well, I do not want to overstay my welcome, so I'm gonna leave now. And he was like, yeah, thank you very much, my guy. Because he doesn't care about the officer whatsoever, but he thinks the officer's a cool guy, though. So his mom wakes up to the smell. His mom wakes up to the smell of pasta, which I'm gonna say, spaghetti and meatballs are Izuku's favorite dish, and she wakes up to the smell of spaghetti and meatballs, which she hadn't made since Izuku died, right? And when he wakes up, and when she wakes up, she sees Izuku chefing it up in the kitchen, and she's like, "Who are you?" And Izuku's like, "I am Izuku Midoriya." And she's like, "No, that's impossible. My baby died. I buried him. He's been dead for 2 weeks. You can't do this." She's like, "Why are you doing this? Why do you torture me with the memory of my son?" And basically, Izuku, like, he just goes up to her and hugs her, and he's like, "Mom, my power awakened." And she's like, "But my son was quirkless." And she's like starting to cry and stuff because she can't believe what she's hearing or seeing. And he's like, "No, it's just that my power required me to die for it to awaken." And she's like, "What's your power?" And he's like, "I can't die." And when Inko hears that, she starts crying, She's like, "I can't believe it. I don't believe it." He's like, "I had DNA test. I was DNA tested, right?" And he's like, "That's why the officer let me come to my house, because I got DNA tested and it came back positive. I am Izuku Midoriya." And Inko's crying, and she's like, "Well, where did you learn how to cook? Because my son didn't know how to cook." And he's like, "Well, that's a story for another time." And then he says, "But for right now, I'm going to UA." And Inko's like, "Why would you want to go to that place? They're the ones that killed you, blah, blah, blah." And she's starting to get mad, aggressive, right? And he's like, "Mother, relax. I am going to become the number one hero." And she's like, because at this point, she's just confused because she thought her son was dead. Her son wasn't dead. Her son came back. Her, um, her son wants to go to the place that betrayed him and made him die. And he says he wants to become a hero, which is the profession that killed him. And so his mom's like, "No, I won't allow it. I won't allow it." And Izuku's like, "Mother, relax. I can't die." And Inko's like, "No, you can." And he's like, "I can't die." And he keeps repeating this, and she still doesn't believe him. So he's like, "Okay, then I'll show you." And he grabs a knife and he just stabs himself through the heart. And at this point, she's like crying and stuff, and she's like, "Izuku, no!" She's like, "Izuku, no! Why would you do this to yourself, my baby? I just got you back." And basically, she's like crying over his she's crying over him, right? But basically, he's just standing there, and she's like, why are you dead? And he's like, and he pulls a knife out, and basically the wound just heals immediately. And he's like, because like I said, I can't die, mother. And basically, she faints. She faints again. And when she wakes up, she's like, so you really can't die? And he's like, no, I can't. It's both a blessing and a curse. Because while you age, I won't. I will only age until my physical peak, and then I will stop aging, and I will live forever while you guys die all around me. And his mother starts crying. He's like, that's not a burden a young boy like you should carry. And Izuku's like, I know, but, you know, it's okay. I'll be fine. And his mother's like accepting that he is immortal now. He can't die for anything, but she still doesn't want him to go to UA because she doesn't want the influence of those people around her, around him, especially All Might. She hates him, absolutely deplores him at this point, right? But Izuku's like, this is something I have to do, mother. I have to face my demons, you could say. And she's like, okay, but Izuku, you better be careful around those people. They're not they're not people you should trust, right? And so Izuku goes to UA, and he's not wearing a mask or anything. And basically, he sneaks into Principal Nezu's um office, which he can't do since he's the reincarnation of Bond. Like, come on, bro. Like, bro, he is the reincarnation of this sexy nigga. No homo, no homo, no homo. So right now, he's looking fresh as fuck, right? And basically, he sneaks into Nezu's office looking like a fucking god. Like, he has, I don't know which suit I should make him wear, right? Because all these suits are mad. They're all like, they're all cool, right? But I don't know, like, uh, dang, this suit I'm saving for something else, so it's about this two and this one. So I'm gonna go with this one because this one looks more like Bond. So he shows up looking like this, right? And basically, Nezu doesn't know it's him. He just, because his hair has turned white like Bond's, but his eyes are still green, right? And so he shows up and he sits down and waits for Nezu, right? And Nezu comes in and he just sees this man with white hair, but he doesn't see the green eyes or the face. He just sees white hair and a body. And basically, Izuku at this point got tired of waiting and he's reading a book with his back turned to Nezu. Nezu gets kind of alarmed because he's never seen a person with white hair except for Vlad, and Izuku doesn't have the same build as Vlad. So Nezu's like, "Who are you?" And Izuku's like, "I'm kind of hurt, Nezu, that you have forgotten me." And his voice has changed as well. It's like deeper, right? So Nezu's like, "I will ask you again, who are you?" And Izuku's like, "Wow, it seems I have been forgotten by the people who betrayed me." And instantly Nezu's like, "No." He's like, "Who are you? Before I call All Might and the heroes." He's like, "Before you have to be escorted out, you will go to jail." And Izuku's like, "Actually, I won't, because I am a student here." And Nezu this whole time isn't believing because he's like, "No, he's dead." And Izuku's like, "You've forgotten your own student, Nezu, that you played a part in killing him?" And Nezu's like, "No, he's dead. You can't be him." And Izuku's like, "Well," and he turns around to reveal his green eyes and the Izuku like um baby face, right? And he's like, "Well, I am." And Nezu's like, Nezu just instantly is instantly like, "How?" And Izuku's like, "Well, there's one little thing that you traitors forgot." And Nezu's like, how dare you call us traitors?" And he's like, "But that's what you are, isn't it?" And Nezu's like, no. And Izuku's like, well, you betrayed me, so that makes you traitors. And Nezu's like, we didn't have information at the time, blah, blah, blah. And Izuku's like, calm down. Live life a little. And Izuku's like, well, you did have the information at the time. You just chose not to. Because believing what was plainly obvious, and he does that with quotation marks. He says, believing what was obvious is much easier than searching for the truth, is it not, Nezu? And Izuku, Izuku is just like, well, I'll be taking my place in UA again. And Nezu's like, no, you have to register for the police and tell them that you're alive and stuff. And Izuku's like, I've already done that. And the police were very pleased to see me because they think it will redeem UA, which it won't, by the way. Um, and and he's like, well, I'll be going to class 1A now. And Nezu's like, what? But I thought you hated us. And he's like, I do, but that won't stop me from reaching my goal of becoming a hero. Because becoming a hero is not about revenge. It's not about petty squabbles. It's not about me dying at all. It's about me wanting to save people. And you guys being absolute dickheads. So I'm gonna go. And you're just gonna be a silent little puppy and not tell anyone. And Nezu's like, what? You can't say that to me, blah, blah, blah. And basically, and Nezu's like, do you even have a quirk? And Izuku's like, no, I don't. And Nezu's like, then you can't join UA. And Izuku's like, I said I didn't have a quirk. I didn't say I didn't have a power. And Nezu's like, what? And Izuku's like, yeah, I can't die. And Nezu's like, what? And Izuku's like, yeah, I'm immortal. So that means I'm going to live forever. And there's nothing in this world that can kill me because demons don't exist, and nor do angels. So holy magic nor demonic magic can harm me because they don't exist in this world. And Nezu doesn't know what he's speaking about, but he's like, so you're immortal? And Izuku's like, yeah, yes I am. And and Nezu instantly gets shivers down his spine because Izuku like moved so fast that he couldn't see him and just appeared behind Nezu, and he's like, well, I'll be going to 1A now. And Nezu, because he's afraid at the moment, because bro, like what he did was a fucking madness. But anyway, class 1A, they have been in the dumps because they're like, oh shit, we killed a kid for no fucking reason. And Aizawa is one. I'm gonna say Aizawa is actually one of the kids that he's one of the people that believed Izuku was innocent, except for All Might. All Might wasn't. So he basically the class 1A are just they're focusing, right. So it's silence. It's silent right now because the class has been silent since Izuku died. So they just hear footsteps, like the footsteps are getting closer and closer, and they're just constant, right? And it feels like they're never gonna end. And somebody finally speaks up, and they're like, "What is that?" And everybody's like, "I don't know." And so Todoroki, Momo, Froppy, and Kirishima are they hate the class. Like at this point, they hate the class. The only reason they're in UA is because they need to become heroes, and that's one of the only ways to become a hero. So Aizawa hears a knock at the door, and he says, "Give me a moment. It must be the footsteps." And he goes to the door and he opens it, and Aizawa immediately just has a blank expression on his face, and he closes the door. And everybody's like, "What is it?" And he's like, and Aizawa's like, "Just give me a minute," because at this point in his life, even though he was one of the traitors, like he's seen so much shit that somebody coming back from the dead isn't really that surprising to him, right? So he opens the door again, And Aizawa was like, impossible. And Izuku was like, well, I am known for the impossible. And so Izuku steps in and everybody sees his face. But he has white hair and they're like and basically um Froppy is like, Izuku, and and Izuku in this one, he's just gonna have a very passive aggressive, chill manner, right? So he's like, that is I, and he's just gonna joke about everything, and everybody's like, but how? And he's like, because I can't die, and he just looks at everyone with a smile, and he's like, I can't die. Your attempt to kill me was a fail, and he's just joking all around, right? And Aizawa was like, you can't joke about this, Izuku. You died. And he's like, and Izuku's like, and who exactly's fault is that? Looking at Aizawa dead in the eye with like, and his aura is starting to spike. With everybody, which everybody can feel this aura that just makes them submit to Izuku's will. And he's like, whose exactly's fault is that? Like in a dark voice. And Aizawa just shuts up. And so Froppy comes up to him, and so do Kirishima, Momo, and Todoroki, because they're the only ones that can't feel the aura. So Froppy comes up to him, and she's like, "Hi, Izuku," and she's saying this like confused and scared at the same time, and he's like, "Well, hello there, my real friends," and he says this by while looking at the class, and they're like, "What do you mean, real friends? Izuku, welcome back." Blah 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 blah. And he's like, "Shut up, mongrels!" And he just applies so much pressure that the chairs and just the room in general starts to crack, right? And um and then he stops and he's like, "Well, how have you been doing?" And they're like, "Nigga, how have we been doing? How have you been doing, bro? Like you've been dead." And he was like, eh, you could call it that. You could call it that." And he's like, "Well, I'm back to take my place now anyway, so you know, yeah." And Uraka comes up to him because she did not get confronted about her cheating or anything, right? And she comes up and she tries to kiss him, and basically he just like smoothly dodges to the side, and he's like, "Miss me with that bullshit." And Uraka's like, "Deku, why?" And he's like, "Because you cheated on me, bitch, with tic tac dick." And Uraka just gets surprised at this, and so does the whole class, except for Kirishima. And Kirishima's like, "Bro," he's just laughing because he's like, "I knew Karma would get those bitches, those niggas, like, bro." But anyway, and Uraka's like, "No, no, I didn't. Who told you this? Blah blah blah." And he's like, "I seen you, bitch. Valentine's Day, or no, no, actually not Valentine's Day." He's like, 1 month anniversary. I seen you, bitch." And Uraka gets like kind of flustered. She's like, "No, that's not. It wasn't what you thought." And he's like, "Well, I seen um, Tic Tac over there clapping your cheeks. So it is what I seen what I've seen, bro." And he's like, "Anyway, so because I don't need to take lessons anymore because I'm smarter than everybody here combined. Goodbye, Ashante, and I'll see you at the sports festival." And basically, Aizawa was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, because I am a reincarnation." And they're like, "A reincarnation? That isn't real." And he's like, "Well, I am." And I'm immortal. And basically, in this one, he's just gonna be like Deadpool, right? So he goes up to Aizawa and he like slaps him in the face twice, and he does it on like the patronizing way where you just tap somebody in the face with an open palm just twice, and he's like, "Well, see you tomorrow, bub," and he just jumps out the window and disappears, right? And everybody like shocked, just absolutely shocked, and basically, let's say that every single day of these 2 weeks, people, reporters and stuff have been gathering around the school for answers about Izuku Midoriya, and especially today because this is the day before the UA Sports Festival, and they want to know like, are they gonna continue with the festival even though a student just died? And so they see the doors start opening, which the watchdog guy, yeah, he tried to like fight Izuku because Izuku was on private property, and he didn't recognize Izuku because he's never seen him. So he tries to fight him, right? And Izuku just like slaps him away, and he just craters into the wall. And basically, the reporters outside the UA see, they hear like a big bang, and then they just see the door start opening slowly, like somebody was pushing it open. And then they see just a pale hand reach through the door and just slam it open, right? And then they see Izuku with white hair and green eyes. And so they're like, who are you? And one of the reporters says, doesn't he look like Izuku Midoriya? And basically, the reporter goes up to him and they're like, well, who are you? Are you like some sort of relative of Izuku Midoriya's? And Izuku's like, you could say that since I am Izuku Midoriya. And they're like, sir, it's not funny to joke about a dead child. And Izuku's like, well, I'm not dead, so. And the reporter gets angry, and she's like, I told you it's not funny to joke about a dead child. And he's like, well, I am not dead. And the reporter's like, you're serious about this? And he's like, obviously my power awakened. He's like, my quirk, and does it with the quotation marks, and he's like, my quirk awakened, and that's why I'm back to life. And the reporters are like just shocked, and they're like, and they start asking back questions like, what are you doing back in UA if they're the reason that you're dead, and are you gonna be a part of UA again? Do you plan to become a hero? um, like, what is your quirk and stuff like that, right? And Izuku's like, well, what I'm doing back in UA is just getting registered again, because I am gonna become a hero. And one of the reporters like, why would you become a hero after dying on or and she's like, wait, did you die? And he's like, yeah, but like I said, my quirk awakened when I died. That was the condition of my quirk awakening. And they're like, okay then. And so basically, one reporter says, what's your quirk? And he's like, well, my beautiful reporter. And he looks at her like in the eyes, right? And basically, I'm just gonna say his eyes are like dazzling for some reason, and he just hypnotizes women, right? That's why Urako started feeling a certain way when she looked into his eyes. And he says, my dazzling female friend. But he says this, and she starts to blush. She's like, I am immortal. And they're like, what? Because they've never heard of a quirk giving immortality. And he's like, well, I am completely and utterly immortal. And let's say All For One is watching this, and he's like, what? Immortality. I have to get that quirk. And basically, he's like, and I cannot die. Yeah. And to All For One, actually, he doesn't say this because he still doesn't want to reveal All For One to the general public. So he's like, and I cannot die ever, no matter what. So I'm going to live forever, and I'm going to enjoy the life while I'm here. And basically, he's like, so, reporter lady, do you want to go on a date with me? And she's like, that's preposterous. You're a kid. And he's like, well, technically, I'm going to live forever. So do the rules of society really apply to me though? And she's like, alright. And basically, he takes her out on a date because, oh fuck,